December.
No, it's not.
It's technically of the administrative.
It is 6:30, so if we could all please stand, we'll do the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, October 11, 2022. The time being 6:30 p.m. The meeting of the Greensburg City Council is called to order. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests the participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that's available on the table in the back of the room. Amy is unable to be with us this evening. Julie Nobby is filling in for her. Julie, would you please call the roll?
Jamie Kane.
Here.
Rick Emsweller.
Here.
Kevin Fleetwood. Vieta McKenzie. Here. Daryl Coley.
I'm here.
Perfect. You all should have received a copy of the minutes from September 13, 2022. Any edits, additions, or corrections to those? If not, would entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Rick, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Should have received a copy of the minutes from October 4th, 2022. Any edits, additions, or corrections to those?
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made by Daryl,
Second.
second by Vieta. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
I abstain.
Under old business, we have several ordinances that Julie's here to talk to us about as well if we have any questions. But the first is 2022-20, which is the second reading of the Greensburg Community Schools Corporation budget for 2023. Any further comments or discussion on that? If not, would entertain a motion for 2022-20, second reading.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Vieta,
Second.
seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. The second one on the list is 2022-21, which is the City of Greensburg's 2023 budget. Second and final reading for that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve by Daryl, seconded by Jamie. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. 2022-22 is the elected official salary for 2023, second and final reading.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve that on the second reading, but we amend the council salary piece. We're going to add 500 on that. So that's my motion.
I'll second the motion.
There's an amendment on the floor to add 500 to each council person's salary for the year. Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by Daryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
Motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Okay.
He
I'll-
combined
yeah.
them, he combined them, but I think it's clear if you say, y'all do
You
what
want a
you want.
motion to amend it and then a motion to approve separately?
Right, I think you've passed the motion to amend it, as,
Okay.
that's what Josh said.
I'll make a motion we approve as amended. 2022-22. On the second reading.
Motion's been made by Jamie to
Second.
pass the amended, second by Vieta. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Okay. 2022-23 is the general salary for city
Make
employees.
a motion we pass that on the second reading.
Motion's been made by Jamie,
Second.
second by Rick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. 2022-24 is the utilities department salary.
Make a motion we pass that on the second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by Daryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Next is 2022-26, which was the one that we talked about last week for the update and expansion of city council. Passed out of first reading with an amendment, which is in your folder to include the language that delays the seats.
Correct, and so what I did is utilizing largely the Indiana home rule. I added a paragraph that basically states that that the seats will be filled by the general election in the same manner and at the same time as all other council vacancies, with the new at-large members taking office on January 1st of 2024. So that would mean, it would basically just add 2 additional at-large ballot positions to be filled by the general election. So you're passing it now, the ordinance takes effect January 1st of 2023, but specifies that it will be filled in the general election, which will be in November of 2023. It also specifies that until those vacancies are filled by the general election, they shall not be considered for purposes of either establishing quorum or the necessity if there's a majority. Essentially, I didn't want the 2 vacant seats to end up being counted in them until we actually filled them, so.
We will not appoint them.
You are not appointing them, no. So it has been amended, per your last motion, it was amended to remove the appointment process from the council.
I'll make a motion to pass 2022-26 as amended on the second reading.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Jamie, second by Rick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
And thank you, Chris, for working on it.
No problem. I would also note, just so you're aware, the whereas provisions, the other amendment to it was in the whereas provisions earlier on in the ordinance. I did go ahead and clarify that the statutory scheme under which we were proceeding. So I think it covers all the bases, until somebody tells me I'm wrong.
Then we will deal with it.
Okay, we'll move to new business. We have Mr. Bill Overmeyer of Overmeyer Agri Group, who's with us this evening and requested to address the council and be on the agenda. Mr. Overmeyer, if you please come forward and tell us what you'd like to tell us.
Okay, thank you. I'm Bill Overmeyer. I filled out a petition to appeal the stormwater fee assessment on at Cleo Lane parcels, which I don't know if Ron's putting that up tonight or not, but and I'd like to give you guys the reasons why. That property was annexed into the city without any knowledge of annexation. I did not know this until I received my property tax bill. So our taxes on one of the parcels went from $3,315 to $69.90. Then it increased to $74.70. I think I spoke at the Board of Works. I met with Frank Manis at the time. He said our property was in a gray area. So as of today, we do not have any services provided by the city. Our water runoff goes in the ditch and into Muddy Fork Creek. And I have a copy of a resolution that states services of capital improvement nature will be provided to an annexed territory within 3 years. And we've not received any services to all 4 of my parcels. I've also got a letter that states sanitary sewer service will be provided to this property, and that's never happened. So I would not be petitioning the stormwater assessment if my parcels had all the amenities. And I feel as though I paid the city approximately $36,000 more in taxes than it would have been if the property not been annexed and stayed in the county. And that's basically just on one of the parcels. So there's no street and road maintenance. The state highway does it, and I just feel as though I don't know it. So.
Sir, so you specified that you have a resolution in front of you that states within 3 years. Can you please tell me the resolution number?
It's back when 421 properties got annexed. I don't know if it's this exact one, but it's 2008-7. It says some of the services will be within a year, the rest is within 3 years.
So I was just looking at 2007 or 2008-7 earlier today. Can you tell me what specific page you're looking at?
That's on page 1.
Okay. Of the fiscal plan or the actual resolution?
It's, I don't know, it's on the introduction here.
Okay. Thank you.
Bill, who's the letter? You referenced the letter. Can we get a copy of that? Maybe.
No, it's just a resolution. This
Just the resolution.
that you guys
Yeah,
presented.
we've got that. Okay.
Yeah. But the letter. That was when I met with Frank Manis, probably about the 4th time. They talked about where they could get city utilities to the lift station for sewer behind Soy's elevator, but said they could never get a hold of the landowners of the golf course. Then Jeff and I met again, and they were going to put it out by Cleo Lane at the front of our property. And I've got a letter dated, it's June 19th of 2017, and nothing's ever been done.
Before you leave this evening, could maybe we get a copy of the letter?
Yes.
Kristen could run us one if you want to leave after this, sooner than
That's
the end of
fine.
the meeting.
Okay.
I think probably our best path forward is the council can't amend the ordinance tonight because there isn't an exception, is that right?
That's right. There's nothing within the current stormwater utility ordinance that would provide an ability to an exempt a property, which is essentially what you're asking for, because your appeal was determined to be correct. So your classification was right and your impervious area was right. So there was nothing to appeal, and that's why it was denied. There is also subsequently within the ordinance an additional process by which you could seek judicial review of that denial if you were to so choose. But what you're asking for is instead that your property be exempted from that stormwater utility. And there are certain parcels that are in the ordinance exempted. I double checked to make sure that the parcels that you were referencing or that you own were not included in those current exemptions. There is not under the ordinance any other methodology for exemption of property. So as it stands right now, there's nothing the council can do in terms of exempting your property because of that, because there's no procedure contemplated in the ordinance to allow you to do that. Additionally, in terms of the annexation, I did read what you were referencing in terms of the first page, but that then references the fiscal plan, which is attached as an exhibit to that resolution, and that fiscal plan does not specify adding, there's no specific property division in terms of where services are added or when. So all of that is a long-winded way of saying, I think the council's probably understands what you're saying and would happily look into it a little bit more, which is why I was asking you what documentation you were looking at so that we can get on the same page to see how best the city can assist you in proceeding.
So I guess I'm still in a gray area?
You don't actually know my answer to that, sir.
I'm asking.
I don't think you're in a gray area. I think your interpretation of the resolution is probably inaccurate, but I don't want to say that until I've had an opportunity to delve into it a little bit more.
So you're saying the city's not responsible in 3 years?
I'm saying that I don't think the services that you're discussing were contemplated in the fiscal plan. The services you're referencing of 3 years, I don't think were contemplated in the fiscal plan that's attached to resolution 2008-7. That being said, I don't know what representations were made to you as a homeowner or a property owner in the annexation areas, because in 2008, I didn't even live in the city back then. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly legally what the position is in terms of that resolution to address the issue that you brought forward. In terms of the stormwater, if you feel that the appeal was wrong, there's a mechanism for you to have that reviewed.
I petitioned that, and when I talked to Daryl, said they were setting up a task force to review some of the parcels.
Well, I was gonna say, then, and that may be, I don't know the answer, I'm just giving you what I know about the resolution.
We were looking at the ordinance, so we got
The
a work,
ordinance.
Yeah.
so we got a work group, and we met once, and we're probably gonna meet a few more times, going through and trying to identify, what modifications we might make to the ordinance, but we are looking at that.
Okay.
And Bill, I think, we can work to better understand the documentation. Obviously, this was kind of first brought up last month, right? So I think we can work through.
Yeah, all along, ever since I even met with Frank Manis, I never did really say much about the extra taxes and not getting any amenities. But after I reviewed how much we're spending and have nothing, it's kind of mind-boggling, actually. Because I've probably spent 40 grand and have nothing.
I'll disagree with you on that. We can have that conversation offline as you receive protections in street department, fire protection,
There's no
utilities.
street department, it's a state highway.
Cleo Lane is a city street.
That's correct. The state highway clears Cleo Lane.
Well,
And
but
maintains it.
I think we're responsible for the lane miles.
That's fine,
And we
but-
can go down that rabbit hole too. Utilities are a user fee-based product, right? So when you receive water service, you pay for the water you use. So if you received water, you would pay additional for the water. Generalized tax dollars don't support the utilities. So the tax dollars you've paid, and that anybody pays for utilities, don't provide utilities. They go to generalized city services. The utilities are a standalone business entity under the umbrella of the city.
Okay.
Bill, when were you annexed into the city?
I think I looked taxes, it was the spring payment of 10, I believe, for '09, if I remember right.
That was the time that the Honda.
Yeah, it was after that,
property-
yes.
It was after Honda?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've got the tax bill, it's where it describes it, but it's spring payment.
Okay. We'll work on that. We'll take a look at that, and I'll keep in touch with you, or we'll keep in touch with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Up next, we have Mr. Charles Falk, Greensburg Soy Processor. Good evening, Charles.
Thank you. I'm here also for the same reason. I've appealed my stormwater charges. And to me, it's not about that I don't have services, which I do, but the properties are so old and been in the community for so long, they've been designed and set up to handle our own water. And I have some maps, if I may pass them out, to show you how the water flows.
Sir?
So if you want to start the one on 421, want the 3 green arrows on it. Again, it was annexed when kind of Honda come in the community. But again, it was there since the late 60s, early 70s. Nothing developed out there, so it had to be self-sufficient. And the water is all, going into a waterway. There's also some field tile there that's draining, which goes into Muddy Creek. And there are no city drains there at all. And so I guess I'm just asking for that property to be reviewed for, your task force as far as being exempted, because we are managing our water on our own. I know that Mud Creek drains into the reservoir. You can make an argument there that you're still managing the water. Then I would ask, what about all the farmer tiles that are in the county that are draining there also? Are they being assessed a fee also? The next map I question is here on Main Street. And again, it's been self-sufficient property. The exception is there is one parcel, and that's where the 3 orange X's are. That is city drains there and services, so I'm not questioning that parcel. my water is going in your drains, and I deserve to be part of helping you guys upgrade these in the future. The green arrows, though, again, show that most of the majority of the water there heads south. And that is because I have drains there next to the railroad track where I actually pay the railroad $905 per year for 2 culverts underneath the track to pump that water underneath the tracks out into my field over on the other side. Drought years, it's good. Wet years, it drowns my crop out. But nevertheless, I'm self-sufficient. There's also a blue dot, if you notice, on there. And that's actually your guys' property. And your water actually drains across the road onto me, and I am pumping your water. So I'm asking for my parcels to be considered for exemption, and I'd be more welcome to have you guys come out, or someone, whoever's on the task force, and walk you around on a rainy day so you can actually watch where the water goes. But I guess I'm not part of the problem of the sewer drains being overwhelmed. I'm actually part of the solution. I am managing the water I own in a different manner. And so I'd like to be considered, to be exempted. All in all, what does this mean financially to Greensburg Soy? $8,130 per year. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions for Mr. Falk? Thank you. The task force will take that under advisement and review that as well. And as Jamie had mentioned, we have met and talked through some of these items that were brought up again last month. And I think we'll probably continue that process, through the end of the year as these types of discussions continue. So I'll be sure that, or one of us will be sure to keep you updated on that. If you have any questions, please reach out.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Richard Starkey from Barnes and Thornburg. He's here this evening to run us through a whole list of things related to the legal happenings for the Fire Station Street Department campus. Good evening, Rich. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Richard Starkey with law firm Barnes and Thornburg. Happy to be here. So the first resolution of 3 that you'll consider for the bonds that will be issued by the building corporation. First, I would like to tell you that the building corporation met right before this and approved the bond issues. We had a good meeting where they basically asked questions about the 2 projects and were given answers, and so that all went well. And so the first resolution, again, we're following kind of a statutory procedure of how we have to do this. So the first resolution is a resolution that accepts the lease petitions. So part of the process here is that we had to have 50 taxpayers sign a petition asking for these projects, for both projects. The county auditor certified 52 signatures, so we have that in hand, and so the resolution approves those petitions. The reimbursement of proceeds, this is a federal tax law portion that allows you to, when you issue the bonds, to actually reimburse yourself for expenses you're paying now, architects, things like that. Before the bonds are actually sold, so you can, when we sell the bonds, you can take that money and reimburse the city for the expenses they paid. And then approves the appraisers. We had to have 2 appraisers to appraise the land that was bought, so we have 10 acres of the land that's going for the projects, for the two projects. And then, of course, there's 20 acres of land there. The 10 acres to the south is not going to be used for the 2 projects at this point. So it would be appropriate at this point to have a motion to approve resolution 2022-06.
Council, is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Rick, seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Now we need a public hearing.
Correct.
Is there-
Well, I was going to explain. So this is the second public hearing. Last week you had your first public hearing. Again, on the statute, you have to have 2 public hearings for this kind of bond issues. And so this is the second public hearing that's been advertised for.
You need a motion? I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion's been made by Jamie,
Second.
seconded by Daryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Is there anyone here to speak on this topic during this part of the public hearing? Hearing and seeing none, would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by Daryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Next resolution.
So the next resolution, 2022-07, is approving the, what you just had the public hearing on. So it's the preliminary determination to issue bonds. That was what the public hearing was for. And so this is the resolution that after the 2 public hearings is done, has to be actually adopted to approve the determination to issue bonds.
Council, any further questions for Rich? Is there a motion to approve 2022-07?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Jamie,
Second.
second by Vieta. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Public hearing on leases.
So, since we are using a building corporation for this, the building corporation will actually issue the bonds. They will in turn lease the project to the city. And there are 2 leases, one for the Public Works building and one for the fire station. So we have 2 leases, and those leases under the statute have to be subject to a public hearing, which is before you tonight. It's been advertised as a public hearing. And it would be appropriate at this point to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we open a public hearing to discuss the leases.
Second.
Motion made by Jamie, second by Rick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Is there anyone from the public here who wishes to speak on the leases? Hearing and seeing none, would take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by Vieta. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
So now that you have heard the public's lack of input of the public for the public hearing for the leases, it's now appropriate to consider Resolution 2022-08, which approves the leases, approves their execution, and determines that there's a need for both projects.
Make a motion, we pass resolution 2022-8.
Second.
Motion's been made by Jamie, seconded by Darrell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Up next, we have ordinance 2022-25, which is the additional appropriation ordinance. I think Amy's provided some insight to this. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Julie? Or?
Unless anybody has questions.
The basis is fuel, fuel prices, fuel funds, and making sure that we have the requested funds. So $10,300 for police, and then $11,300 for fire, and then we had a debt sinking bond payment that was made in January of this year, and that is to get us back on track. It's the same amount of money as always, $101,000. So those are our 3 additional appropriations. Any questions? If not, would entertain a motion to approve 2022-25 on first reading.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Rick, seconded by Darrell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. 2 things real quick. We have our final public safety night out on October 20th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. out in Ryle Edition. Hopefully you will all be able to join us. We have determined who will represent each department in the chili cook-off. It'll be GPD's administration and investigations team and the fire department's C shift, which is on today, right? Yeah, that's why you guys came. It's that particular topic, I'm sure. And they will be duking it out in Ryle Edition after a fun employee-based lunch that we had last week, 2 weeks ago, to determine who would be the winner. And so we had a great lunch with a lot of coworkers here at City Hall to figure that out. So please come out and join us for that. We'll have the Pirate Park ribbon cutting on October 19th at 10 a.m. That's an odd time, but we will have the CEO of Indiana Destination Development Corporation, Elaine Beadle. She will be joining us. They did provide a grant to that where we beat out the Indianapolis Children's Museum and the Art Gallery. So we're very excited to have her joining us for that, and the building will be finished and be a good opportunity to check it out. So be sure to put that on your calendar. Final note is the Board of Works and City Council meeting will be on Wednesday, November 9th next month, because Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th. So please be sure to do that. And early voting is starting at the courthouse today or tomorrow, I believe. So be sure to participate in that this year. Any updates? Jamie, you want to do Board of Works?
Sure. We approved a modification to DLZ's scope of work and the contract for the fire station and street department building. Chief McNeely came and we approved a temporary policy for take-home cars for people living in adjacent counties, people on call within a 45-mile radius, and then people living in the county. Then we also approved the promotion of Officer Randall Kennedy to police officer. Zeke came and we approved the purchase of 2 new pumps. Then Ron came. We actually approved our first stormwater project. Basically, it's going through an alley, basically by North Street between Stewart and Lathrop Street. So we've got that approved. And then we discussed a few stormwater appeals. Basically, they didn't meet the requirements for the appeals based on our review, so we denied those, or we approved the recommendation of the city engineer. That's what we didn't deny. So there you go. It's all in the wording, right? So, and then and then we also approved some concrete games. We're part of a project for the interns did this summer. So I think that was the finalization of that project, getting that done. So that's it. Everything else we've already talked about.
Rick, anything from Main Street?
They did get their state certification. They're working on national certification now. That won't be until, what, 24, I think they said. The beer gardens was a huge success. They made quite a good profit on it. And now they're working on the Christmas or holiday walk. It's coming up, I don't remember the dates, but...
First Saturday in December.
Okay. 11 to 7 and parade's at 5:30.
Kevin's not here this evening. Plan Commission, I think,
Did not meet,
yeah. And then, anything from Solid Waste?
They had a lunch meeting that I couldn't attend.
We,
Did you go?
yeah. Yes, it was the recycling request for bids and proposals for curbside and countywide. That was it. The, Daryl, read
Did
it.
open bids?
No, it's just the send out of the request
Okay.
for people to bid. I think that is the 10th. Do you remember? No, don't. That's coming. November, I think. November 10th. That's Friday. There.
Just a couple of things from redevelopment commission. The residential project surveys are ongoing. Hoping to start construction in the spring of '23, and hopefully around that time too, we'll start to see some sales of property. We did approve a new TIF district. Any of you want to see the map on that? I do have that map. It basically is the east side of the square. It also goes down and captures the old St. Mary's properties. That's it.
I don't think that I have anything else from the other boards either as well. So, anything else, council? If not, take a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Motion's been made by Rick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.